5-second session from one of the users. I want to gain the maximum out of that 5 seconds, so let me show him 100 ads, right? It's not about LTV. It's about the price of the moment, as if like your app is going to die tomorrow, so you want to make all the money today, right? That's the approach this solution takes. The new audience monetization stack looks very, very different, right? Where essentially you have this all event collection where you are doing that. You have a rule-based audience segmentation, which you will keep changing, by the way. It is not static, right? And then you have the flexible actions framework, where you say, if this, then do this, right? So for example, the example that I showed, that if Krish has not come back for 3 days after when he was a very active user, send him a hint on the puzzle, right? And you say, if I have already sent 3 hints and he has not come back, then give him a bonus, right? These are the type of flexible rules you want to create around your game, right? So this, like in the standard way, is called analytics, right? Not the interactions framework part, but essentially the analytics about how you understand your users. But what has happened now is, apart from this, here is where the marriage has happened, right? So from the same app, now it will say that, okay, one of the sort of links is where you are collecting this data, analyzing it, and taking decisions on that. The second is wherever you have spaces, right? In your entire storyboard, imagine. In the storyboard you have, here is a position where there is a think time. Here is a position where there is a level change. Here is a happy moment. Here is a place where essentially I know there is a lot of real estate left even on the small screen, right? Now every one of them will say, you know what do you want me to show here? That's the get next action. And based on that, decision engine can say, by the way, here I want to promote my other app that is coming along, or I want to reward him, or I want to retain him, or I want to monetize. You can't look at monetization just separately from analytics and retention. That's not how it works. And that's why a lot of game developers, if you see, initially they start very pure return, no ads, nothing, and okay, only in-app purchases. Soon the realization comes, only 5% users pay. What do I do about it? Then comes the thing, okay, it is mad scramble. Put 50 ad networks into my app, right? And suddenly what happens? The number of users who are using your app daily plummets. Finally, it doesn't help you make more money, right? So be smart about it. As smart as you are in terms of developing your app and sort of getting the attention of 1 million users in the first place, be similarly smart in how you try to monetize them, okay? So this is the new audience monetization stack, right? Again, what is important is that these are some actions you have to do. Doesn't matter which tool you choose. Of course, like as speaking from InMobi, I will tell you we have those type of tools at your fingerprints. But essentially, from the game developer's perspective, make sure that essentially you take both the user retention and monetization together, right? So the second comes that now that you have decided what I am going to show, who are the people whom I will try to monetize and how much. So don't look at LTV only with in-app purchase, but look at LTV. These are the users, you know what? I have made a lot of money from the advertising from them, right? The second is the ad experiences, right? How do you decide like what to show, how to show, what controls you get with respect to the ad experience in general? So I will just show you some awesome creatives. And these are the ones where essentially what you are seeing is custom templates, which means every app, whatever you have, how many of you have heard of Chartboost, right? So they provide something similar where essentially you can create. But here is where the industry is moving. It is not about just a custom template. It's about custom interaction. In Flipboard, what do people do? They flip, right? So that means any ad that is shown, to dismiss that ad, they are not used to hitting a cross button here or cross button on left hand side, right hand side, and all those things, right? You have to even think of custom animations for your, even the custom interactions, custom animation within your app, right? If everything comes down from the top, like you have seen in Zeit and all those things, everything sort of slides from here, right? Even your ads should look like that, rather than suddenly appearing out of nowhere, right? So all the customizations that you can do for every ad that will ever show up in your app. Some of the video ads, again, like there is a lot of different models around that. Incentivized download, incentivized video, normal video, autoplay video versus non-autoplay video, and all those things. So think about it, where do I show this, right? Because one of the things, like it is always a barter, right? User understands that I'm consuming this app for free, so there is a larger amount of acceptability towards ads for them, because they know that that is how the developer is supporting it, right? From your side also, it is a matter of that, okay, you know what, I want to monetize, I want to keep doing that, but I don't want to chase them away, right? Because they have, believe me, every user who is playing a game has other choices. So many games are coming along, so you have to be in the forefront with respect to how you make such decisions, right? Here are the native ads. Essentially, like, imagine like it completely blends into what your app looks like, right? And when we say native, what you do is in the typical native world is that the rendering is completely controlled by you, right? You control where if it is a list or a lifetime that you are showing for a user, you want to show the ads in between where essentially they almost blend in with that, right? So frame, size, like today we know like there are some IAB standard sizes, but increasingly we are saying, people are saying that, you know what, yeah, IAB sizes are fine, interesting, but you know what, for my app, it is not just this extra thing, right? It will look much better if I have a slightly larger canvas here, right? Why can't I monetize it that way, right? So some controls around that. The content, for example, if they are so connecting with the characters of your game, how can sort of they also form part of the ads, right? And then the animations, right? And whenever you are doing all of this, you want to apply that on everything, not only ads, but your house ads, cross promotions, virtual good promotions. On all of those, you want to create the similar experience with respect to the user, right? And like the worst thing that can happen to you is that you have enormous amount of user, but none of the users ever click or ever engage with any ads, right? Doesn't matter, you have done all of those, right? So make sure that, okay, you know what, these creatives essentially evoke engagement, right? So work with partners where essentially those things come along, right? And the blend with your app design, which I already covered. And then these are the different formats, right? We have seen increasingly ECPMs like increase massively based on like how you take into account all these different things. And that far end is personalized ads. What do I mean by personalized ads? Right? Imagine if it is snowing in sort of, what I should say, New York, all the ads that come in sort of have that snowing background, that as if, yes, like it is snowing in New York, we know that, right? So banner ads, interstitials, custom ads, video ads, and essentially personalized ads. So gradually keep evolving over that. Try with 4, then try with the next 4, see which ones work, which ones are giving you a much larger monetization for your app, right? The factor 3 is ad partners. When we say ad partners, it is essentially that, again, one thing is very clear, it's not the volume game. Like I get everybody in the world to come and bid on my inventory and show whichever ads. You get the gist, like how you'll start losing your users over the longer term, right? So a couple of important things here. First is choose a partner who allows you to monetize your audience based on the context and LTV. That control should be there with you, right? It's not about like everywhere start showing ads. Like where essentially that gives you the control, some way wherever you are collecting the data, you are able to use it. Can you give data a day job? Today data has a night job, right? All the reports run, something comes, you come in the morning, you see the reports, right? How can you make data to work for you in real time, right? The second is allows you to monetize your audience across different geographies. When somebody develops an app or game, which is not necessarily completely, what I should say, localized and cultural like that, every game is global. Every game is global. You have to find out, like, you will be surprised once you have hit something that, okay, where are my audience coming from? It is so surprising. I never knew Indonesian people love my app so much. A lot of people are saying that, okay, you know what, I see that they find somehow a lot of value in my game, right? So you have to find partners who help you monetize across the globe, not necessarily just US market, just UK market, or just India market, right? Every game is global. The third is your app is a brand, don't forget that. You have created a brand, right? So don't lose it out in small pennies, right? Whenever you're working with ad partners, understand what your controls are with respect to what ads they will ever show up. We have seen a beautiful app from somebody. The ad that shows up is a thing which completely jitters. It is flashing, this, that, and do you know what it is saying? Win an iPad, win an iPad, win an iPad, win an iPad, right? You don't want to do that. What will you think? He said, you know what, this is a great game. Such a brand has been created, and look at the ad that they are showing, right? So be brand conscious. This is something beautiful you have created. Try to protect it, okay? And gives you the best price for your audience. It's not about how much ad request you generate. Because whenever you do that, at the end of it, the person who loses is the game developer, right? So, quick recap, 3 things we said. One part is that essentially, how do you maximize the user time that you command and keep sustaining that over a period of time? How can you use that to make right decisions about monetization? Third, we said is that, okay, you know what? How do you create amazing ad experiences which does not necessarily jitter a user away from your game? The fourth we said was choose the right ad partners, protect your brand, find out what controls you have, right? So with that, we'll do a quick bit of Q&A. Paresh? Okay. So any questions you guys have, by the way, feel free, me and my friend Himanshu will outside. We can talk to you more about that, and I'm ready to take any questions now. Yes.
Hi, my name is Kapil.
Hi, Kapil.
Recently, Candy Crush, which is from King and I think is also a very big partner for InMobi, they decided not to do ads in their games, correct? Either as a user retention strategy or a growth strategy, because maybe they found a good horse, they want it to run longer and longer. So your thoughts on why, how, and what the implications
Very good
for a game developer are?
Yeah. So here's the thing. How many Candy Crush happen in a year? Right? The problem is, like, you will have one Candy Crush or sort of one other such game. I will not tell you a name which is an equally big success, but they monetize through us. They figured out, because it is at a different stage. If you see, King has it might be having a different strategy altogether, right? What it did very well was the game mechanics was amazing, right? In the terms of where there is, they call it that they, you know what, extremely just in moment type of buying conditions that they created within that game, right? But now their King is also moving into like making candies. You have seen that, right? Like that's what they're, so like Angry Birds has like completely now moved into what? Like it is into franchising, right? King is trying to do that. But do you feel that, do you call him an outlier or do you call him the norm? Right? There will be very few such, even, let me put it this way, we are talking to some companies who make only AAA, what I should say, titles. Right? Even they are coming back and saying that, okay, you know what, I want to ad monetize now. Because I know that the amount of people, so for even King, honestly, the amount of users who are actually paying was not beyond 5 to 10% of them. But just the volume that they went after, so they went after that. Right? They've spent like tons and tons of money in terms of getting the volume. They knew that, okay, I will be always this 5 to 10%. So the only way for me to make a lot of money is to get volume. Right? So there are different models, and it is up to you to choose. If you really think that, okay, you know what, I will continue with 5 to 10%, that means do the math. What volume makes sense for you then, right? Does that answer your question? Okay. I think you had a question?
Yeah, hi. I wanted to ask...
Can you introduce yourself first?
Sorry. I'm Sandeep Shetty. I work in Reliance Games.
Okay.
I had product management there. So what form of advertisement works the best, like in today's scenario, interstitials, video ads, or banner ads?
See, all of them work in some way or the other because you finally make money, right? Now, are you saying like advertising works from a developer perspective or from advertiser's perspective? From developers,
Yeah,
right? So, see, the thing is, let me put it this way, right? Suppose you have a flashlight app. What does interstitial mean for you? Nothing, right? Interstate is between two states. You can't say that, okay, you know what, first I will show one light, then I will show an interstitial, then again the flashlight will start working after some time. It can't, right? So they don't even have an option of flashlights, right? Then what are the things that they can do? For example, again, on the video side of things, right? If you're a utility app, it doesn't work that much. But if you're gaming, again, if it is a mid-core gaming versus casual simulation, video ads work very well. Versus it is completely casual, might be the video does not work that well, right? So I'm saying that it's very difficult to put a broad stroke, right? What we do as InMobi is that essentially we do categorize apps into these different, we have like around 15 different categories for games itself. And then we say that, you know what, for these type of games, these are the type of ads where essentially we have seen users interact with the ads much more because they find that, okay, it is in context, right?
Thank you.
And just to add to that, like imagine if you are building it for tablet and where there is a much larger double density area, a banner doesn't necessarily look bad, right? Where essentially a banner has a lot of real estate to where essentially, and if it is aesthetically done, they do sort of attract user attention.
Hi, I'm Rahul Nanavati. I work with WOI. I just wanted you to educate us a little bit on ad attribution services like Has Offers or Kochava.
By the way, we also have something on ad attribution.
That's
right?
what I thought.
So the ad attribution is essentially like imagine a app developer is, so first of all, the attribution, that SDK is taken by only the advertisers. There's no need for the developers to include that, right? Because it is a one-sided. So long as the advertiser takes that, it will be able to sort of attribute it, right? Now, how do they typically attribute? They typically attribute is that, okay, you know what, I showed an ad here, the user clicked on it, went to the app store, downloaded it, and once he opens that app, that's when the attribution happens. It's not on download, right? It's always on the first open of it. Now, if they have to link it together, right, they need to match it with some ID, right? Now, there are, in iOS, you have the IDFA and all that. On the, what I should say, on the Android, you have the Android ID, and now there is a new ID which is coming out called the advertising ID from Google, right? So this is how it comes along. And some people do digital fingerprinting, but digital fingerprinting is like, I would say like it has way more road to cover, right? It has to, what I should say, it has to mature a lot, right? So whenever you are integrating with different guys and all those things, so long as you are able to give from the developer side the proper IDs, right? That means that the attribution will happen, right? And that the user came from your game will become important, and then essentially will make money on that. Does that answer your question? Okay. Any other questions? Well, there is
Hi, I'm Aman. I work with Babel Media, and we're into QA. Let's
say we speak up a little bit?
Sorry?
Can you please speak up a little bit?
Sure. Okay. I'm Aman, and I'm from Babel Media. We are into QA.
Okay.
Let's say you're launching a new service, and you wish to ad monetize it. Even before we go there, is there a timeline to when you should actually start looking at advertising? Like, I think the mistake that a lot of startups do is that they, fall back onto the ad monetization, and they later on find out that it doesn't work at all, and they have a bad app basically that's not doing well. So, is there like a timeline to it? When should you actually start advertising and ad monetizing?
So let me put it this way, right? Again, I will come back to the presentation that we said. What are users paying for you? User time, right? If you have 1,000 downloads, people are using 1 minute a day, maximum, right? That is not really that exciting, even if you do the calculation, with respect to the amount of money you will make, right? So you are right, Aman, in the sense that, okay, somebody has to strike a balance that, okay, you know what, once I have hit 50,000, or I have hit 100,000 downloads, then I will gradually start monetizing, right? And then also, which is very important, is the whom you will monetize, right? Because certainly what you don't want is to chase your users away. When you are saying that a lot of these app developers like fail in the game or monetizing the game, because implicitly or like without knowing, they chase their users away, right? Because it is not very based on data, not analytics, it is like very, very broad stroke. That's what kills them. It is not, so one is the critical mass, which is like sort of, and you decide, right? Imagine if you have like sort of a million users, but all your million users came from, say, Philippines. It's slightly difficult to monetize that, right? Because the type of demographics that they have. But imagine like if you have 1 million users and sort of a good 30% of it is in Western countries or developing countries, or even in China or Japan or some of these places like that, or even India, what percentage of it is there, then that demographic helps you sort of monetize that, right? So certainly like when you're launching your game, here is that I have 0 users and I am putting my monetization. You have 1 user, you are trying to monetize it, it doesn't work, right? So you have to decide what is the critical mass, and certainly go ahead and talk to certain partners who will help you understand, or talk to other developers who will help you understand at what critical mass essentially it makes a lot of sense to start ad monetizing, right? Yeah.
Hello, my name is Vincent. I'm a studio content manager at Ubisoft. I have a very personal question for you, and it's kind of a follow-up of my colleague from Reliance. Do you really think that we're going to come up with an economic system, economic model for selling games? To sell games in a while from now, because we are still looking for the best recipe, all of us. Do you think we're going to come up with one major generic system, economic model, or do you think it's a grail and we